I'm tired. Hey everyone, I'm actually at the studio today and it is Friday. For context, it's the middle of the day, so my work car was bang on time for a service and the oil filter died. Started shitting oil everywhere. I didn't notice it initially, and then I got a message from the woman that I lease the car space in my building to have the car there. And she's like, hey, the OC's pinged you. Please clean this up before you get a fine. I'm like, okay. So took a look at the car. Yep. It's dripping oil. No problem. Realised it was on brand, on time for a service, so I thought I'd take it in and get that done. And I'm just at the studio now because the mechanic's not far from here. I was thinking about what work I was going to do, and truth be told, I do have work to do, but I can't be bothered. I genuinely can't be bothered doing work. I should, and I probably will. But not right now. I don't know, I'm tired. I'm legitimately tired. I've been wondering why I've been so broke the last couple of months, and it's not just me saying that I'm poor. I did the maths, figured out my cost of living, figured out what my actual income is, and realised I'm way off the mark. And there's a lot of reasons for it, and I'm taking steps to rectify it, but yeah, it really beats you down and grinds you into the ground when you look at it. Fuck. It's all been about nostalgia the last couple of weeks, month, and I hate nostalgia because nostalgia anchors you in the past, and it gets you reminiscing for shit that will never be the same, ever. I mean, let's be fair, man. Like, let's be frank. Those times aren't coming back. You know, every decade is not coming back the way you remember it in context. Never going to come back. Things change, people change, times change. You know what I mean? Your tastes might not change and you can retain that, but, you know, there's no point looking back. But, yeah, I don't know why, series of events over the last couple months has really had me sort of just trying to take scope of everything. Yeah. Last 5 years, if you looked at round numbers, the last 5 years have been really big. Like, you know, just pre-COVID, post-COVID, and beyond, basically. And, yeah, a lot of things have changed for me. You know, where I work, what I do, where I go, you know, socially, where I live, all that shit has really, really changed. For the better, for the worse, I don't know. Yeah, I've never worked more than I ever have, but I've never had less money in my pocket. At the same time, I've never had more goals ticked that I thought I wanted for myself. But that doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter. Man, there was something that fucking happened like a month ago. I didn't get to talk about it. I didn't have the outlet for it. But, I mean, if it's a sign of the times, a friend of mine got carjacked in the building that we both have an office in. And I just missed him. We're both in the office. We share an office space. And I've left for the evening and he stuck around for another half an hour or whatever. Gotten home and, yeah, half an hour, 45 minutes later, something, I get a phone call and he's, you know, frantic, got basically carjacked. So our area has been targeted the last 6 months. Obviously, high-rise buildings, underground car parks, you know, storage lockers, you know, very easy to sort of prey into. And, yeah, he was driving out of the building one night. Car tried to, bumper rush him from behind to get through the boom gate at the same time as he was going through. He jumped out of the car to say, hey, you know, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's not going to work, this and that. And one of the guys from that car van jumped out, jumped into his car, took off with it. And the other bloke tried, you know, grabbed his phone off him. And there was a big back and forth. and I was looking back at the footage and it was fucking horrifying because it could have gone like bad, really easily. And for a while we were tracking, his stuff because he had a laptop in his car with a tracker on it, and all that sort of thing. Car was never recovered. But it's just like there are people out there clearly willing to break the law. This isn't news, but it's just like that mentality, Could you do crime? What does it take? How far do you have to get pushed? I've been, like, this last month, been thinking about it, like, how easy it is to actually do that sort of thing. I was raised never to steal shit. My old man would have killed me if I stole anything. It's weird. Like, that's the one thing I would have had my head kicked in over, 100%. But it's like the mentality, like, cost of living, everything's up. Homeless rates are growing, just random brazen crime is growing. And then you've got the government spending, what is it, 30 mil? Was it 30 mil? Hang on. Machete deposit bins cost. So, the government is spending, or has spent, $13 million for the machete amnesty bins. 40 bins that are being used for 3 months for the machete buyback scheme. It's not a buyback because they're just counting on the goodwill of innocent civilians returning their machetes. $13 million, man, on these, St. Vincent de Paul, Brotherhood of St. Lawrence, fucking Salvation Army style bins, that they're expecting good-natured people to just turn up and dump their weaponry. I don't know what they're expecting. Like, are they expecting, like, half the truants in the state to just be like, oh, we can't have these, and just turn up and put their weapons in a bin? Or is it going to be all the hapless, like, Cambodian and Vietnamese farmers turning up with their rice picker hats, and the government seeming to think that was a win? Like, they're fucking stupid, seriously. Like, it's on another level. And people are comparing it to the buyback scheme of, the 90s when the Howard government had the gun reform, and people were, what's it called? People were encouraged to surrender weapons that were no longer legal, like automatic, fully automatic weapons, semi-automatic weapons, and all that sort of stuff. But the machete's a different beast. You could have had a gun then that wasn't outlawed, but you weren't using it to shoot anyone up. You were just using it to hunt or target, shoot or whatever, in your own leisure time. People with machetes aren't buying them because it's a leisurely pastime or an agricultural pursuit. They're buying them to hold people up or making them. You know what I mean? But, what lunatic thought this was okay? I actually said that the other day. Oh, fuck. So, being wretchedly poor, I didn't have many options when it came to cleaning up the oil slick. So I went to my cousin's workshop. He gave me a can of engine degreaser because he obviously buys them in bulk, so he's not going to miss that. And so he's giving me a can, and then he said, just go get some kitty litter, or flour or something like that, and just pour it down. It'll soak it up, and then just clean it up. It should be pretty easy. So I did something I haven't done in a long time. I went to Aldi. I went to Aldi to buy kitty litter, something I've never bought in my entire life. Never owned a cat, that needed kitty litter. And as I was walking to the Aldi and I was crossing the road, I put out my phone to make sure I had enough money on my credit card to pay for this, because I had no cash on me. So as I'm walking across the road and I'm looking at my bank account, trying to move, whatever money I had left to move to my credit card to pay for the kitty litter, this kid stops me. This guy, it was a charity. It was the Retired Servicemen League, the RSL. So he was selling raffle tickets for the RSL, like raising money for that sort of stuff. And he's like, hey, it was just perfect timing. It wasn't even on purpose, right? Because I literally was just stressing because I didn't think I'd have enough money for the kitty litter. So as I'm crossing and I've got my phone out, just looking at my bank account, and he's like, "Hey mate, la la la, can I take just a minute of your time? This and that. I know you've probably never heard of. Have you ever heard of us? La la la. I go, yeah, the Retirement Services League. Yeah. He's like, yeah, cool. So the government does not give any money for subsidies in regards to veteran health and this. Like, it was just naming it all these things. Yeah. It's like, so there's a raffle, raising money in it for awareness, this and that, and he started saying some stats of like mortality rates of servicemen and like all that sort of thing. I took a photo, actually. I just don't remember what phone it was. Maybe it's the wrong phone. Oh, hang on. Here we go. So, like, it's called the Mates for Mates program. So, he's got 3,500 veterans and family members supported to reconnect and recover across Australia. 35,600 client contacts through Mates for Mates. All the stats, of everything that this mob do. He's like, so we're just buying we're selling raffle tickets, this and that, for the interest of veterans. And it was Return Services League. Sorry, what I keep saying retired. Return Services, Queensland. And he kept saying how the government doesn't actually give money out, blah, 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 for such and such services. So we're all reliant on donations and goodwill. And I just looked at him and I had my phone out. I said, it's cool you're here to see this live in real time. And I just turned my phone and he looked at my bank account and he put down his brochure and he goes, brother, I'm really sorry, man. And he put his arm around me. He goes, I get it. Trust me, I get it. And he apologized. And we got to talking and then talking about all this sort of shit. I said, the government doesn't want to hand out money to return servicemen or women, but it's spending 13 mil on fucking Salvation Army bins for machetes, yeah? And he just sort of shrugged. He's like, I know. It's amazing. Feels like this country is just over-policing the people that genuinely just care or just want to, live their lives and do the right thing. Just trying to milk them for everything they're worth because there's not going to be any pushback. And then just under-policing and being extremely lax on the criminal system, teenage offenders, opportunists and things like that. Don't give a shit. And just, catch and release sort of stuff. I think everyone's starting to feel it. Everyone is starting to feel it. And I know this is going to be a pretty depressing drop today. I haven't done one yet. I had a bunch of people that I was going to bring in, but again, just exhausted. I've just got a lot of deadlines. So I haven't been able to do this, which sucks. But, it is what it is. But yeah. I don't know. Oh, you know what the other thing was? Fuck. I can't remember how this came up. I looked at my forklift license. I think maybe because I was looking for an ID. I was going through my wallet. I was doing something. And my forklift license expired about a month ago. And I've had a forklift license since I was, over 20 years now. Yeah, it was like 2004 or something. No, yeah, 2004. So 2005. Yeah, 20 years I would have been driving a forklift. And so I've looked it up, dreading, what it's going to cost me to actually renew it. So I've jumped on, online, trying to find, WorkSafe Australia, where it all falls in. And I found the website, tried to, update my details, blah, blah, blah. But for some reason, created an account where the license wasn't registered or something. I don't know what I was doing. And eventually it asked for ID confirmation. And I found the good old nugget of identity fraud that I've lived with for the last 30 odd years. So on my birth certificate, on my passport, my name is spelt the way my father spelt it when he got asked what my name was in Greek. So it's Dimitris. Since grade 5 or something, I've spelt my name Dimitros. And so, but my passport still says that. And, for most people, they see a license with Dimitrios, they see a passport with Dimitris, and they don't question it. It's like, hey, it's the same person. Yeah, it is what it is. Every now and then, I'll hit a snag. So, when I bought my house, I had to change in the 11th hour. I had to change all my. I didn't have to change my documents. I just got a stat deck done to say that I am one and the same person, and one is just legally bound like that. The others is with the iOS, and it's in the last. People have said to me, "Why don't you just change your name?" I'm like, because it's not worth it, right? To legally change. Like, number one, I don't want to do it, right? Because my parents name me my name. That's the name, right? Number two, for the sake of one letter, I've had to sign a stat deck to, get over this hump maybe 3 times in my entire life. Yeah. When I bought a house, when I had a formal registration of something else, I can't remember what it was. I know I definitely had to do one. And that's it. But like getting my license and everything else, never had an issue with it. So WorkSafe Australia has flagged it and said, nah, the two documents don't match. You've got a name that's different on a passport and a name different on your license or whatever. You need to come back to us with a certificate from births, deaths and marriages to say that you've changed your name. I'm like, hang on, man. I'm not going to change my fucking name for a forklift license. So I raise an inquiry. I call them up, talk to this woman, and her first bit of advice was just change your name. I'm like, I'm not doing that. And then I asked, okay, so why is this not letting it just go through? I go, usually I just punch in a stat deck and that's the end of it. Well, they're just automating. It's only going to get worse and more scrutinized and blah, blah, blah. And we need it to be automated and we need it to be all uniformed. And this is what she kept saying over and over again. And I said, yeah, but why Workplace Australia, WorkSafe Australia, whatever? I go, why is it that they need it? Of all things. She goes, I don't know. I'm like, hang on. And I asked her, so then why was I able to get my license under this name to begin with? Oh, well, that was a long time ago when you got your license and, every time you renew it, this would have happened and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nah, okay, because I've clearly renewed it at least once since I got my fucking license. And then she's like, look, it's a very serious thing. The license names need to match up to the individual and they need to be certain. And I said, hold on. I've got a car license. I've also got a gun license. I own 5 firearms. All have the same name. And I did not have to do a stat deck for those. So you're telling me having a gun license is less of a liability on the individual than it would be to have a forklift license? Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't get it. Having a forklift license is apparently a lot more dangerous and a lot more heavy than having a gun license. Just stopping the feed for a second. If you've made it this far and you haven't already, please subscribe to our Spotify, YouTube and social media accounts. For every new like that we receive, we get a crisp $100 bill from Mark Zuckerberg and we put it right back into production costs. This, of course, is absolute nonsense and made up, but we'd still really appreciate the like. And now back to the episode. I don't know. I've sort of been over it a lot. I really don't have much to say. I mean, I could probably wrap it at this point because I'm really just rabbiting on. Fuck. This week's been nuts. I got cut off by a woman. The woman. I was on Princess Highway. I was headed towards the eastern suburbs. It was early in the morning. It must have been like 7:30, 8 a.m., somewhere there. And this woman in like a fucking like van, like a massive van, is in front of me. And just starts swerving, like starts veering into my lane. Well, our bumpers were practically touching, right? Like the wheel arch, if I hadn't slowed down, our wheel arches would have been touching, my front one and her rear one. And she just starts veering because she was impatient. She didn't want to wait for the car in front of her. So she starts veering, no indicator, nothing. And I've just given her a beep because I'm like, fuck, like, she's going to hit me. So I've slammed the brakes, slowed down or whatever and beeped at her. And then she slowed down, and as I pulled up next to her, I've just looked at her, and she's giving me like the biggest stink eye I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was my fault. Like, what do you mean? And that's the thing. I'm more and more on the road now. I spend most of my week driving around, seeing customers, seeing clients, that sort of thing. And I'm logging a lot of kilometers. So I'm seeing the best of what's out there. And there are some, like, I don't race around. I try to just cruise because the car I'm driving, the work car's got like 355,000 Ks on it. You can't thrash it. Like, it's already done. So I'm trying to milk it for as long as it's going to last. And I'm just cruising, because I'm half asleep half the time, so I'm trying to pay attention. But the drivers, there are zero fucks out there, guys. Like, the indicator is now optional. I've been saying it for years, but now it's just like there for just to comply with safety standards in Australia. That you have to have indicators on your car. Doesn't mean you have to use them. But yeah, I don't know. I've seen some characters this week. Fuck, there's this morning when I dropped the car off at the mechanics, I was just standing around talking shit for a while, and this old Greek guy turned up in corduroy pants and these old wog tappers with white socks. Fucking, I need that kind of big dick energy, that confidence, man, to just zero fucks given. This is what I'm wearing today, and I could care less. I was trying to find the style, because he didn't compromise on style. It was a stylistic choice, that corduroy pants. I'll put it up on Insta. And I'm not criticizing the bloke. I reckon, like I said, fucking, I wish I had the balls to sort of walk around the way I wanted to look. Not necessarily like drape myself in velvet like George Costanza or anything. But, yeah, like to be at that age where the mentality just doesn't give a fuck. Zero fucks given. I don't even know where you buy wog tappers like that. I spoke to Jimmy Drummer on the phone later as I was walking to my mum's after that. I was just saying how I remember my old man having these old shoes. What were they called? They had a specific name. Fuck, I don't even know what it was called. It's still my head in now. They had the little heel. They were like loafers. Like loafers, but with a bit of a heel. Not a Cuban heel. Like not stacked, but like a slight heel. The old man used to wear them. They were his good shoes. And I remember me and my sister playing in the hallway of the house that we grew up in. And the hallway had like the shoes in it underneath the vinyl records. And I think the vacuum cleaner was in there as well. Maybe it was like in the separate second hall. You walk down the hallway of the house. It was a very short hallway. It was like 3, 4, 5 meters. Like it was nothing. But it had two cupboards in the wall. One cupboard had the vacuum cleaner. It had vinyl records and some VHS tapes and things like that. And then the other one was like what was it called? It had like, haberdashery. That had like, sewing kits, glue, batteries, that sort of thing. But I'm just picturing the hallway, because that hallway didn't change when we did the renos. That door stayed the same. Fuck, man. I think about the house that I grew up in, and there's certain bits of nostalgia clinging to it, that I remember vividly, like my old bedroom and the backyard, the garage, like all that sort of shit. I'm only just remembering the hallway now, like vivid. Because I spent a lot of time in that hallway, like running up and down with like a Nerf ball or like my Matchbox cars or all that sort of thing. Because when you were a kid, that hallway felt like it was a gymnasium. It felt like a basketball court, And I'm just realizing now, like me and my neighbor used to stand end to end, like he'd be at the front door and I'd be up towards the top of the aisle, and we'd throw like a one of those spongy soccer balls to each other and things like that. Or play soccer in that little fucking corridor. Jesus Christ. It was barely a meter wide. It probably wasn't. I don't think it was. Fucking hell, man. Yeah, but the old man's shoes, those leather shoes, he wore them in like the 80s and 90s. I guarantee you probably had them to like, 5 years ago. But they were like these laceless loafers with a little bit of a heel. And it wouldn't have just been him, because I remember. So I've got an uncle here, my mum's sister's husband, and he's as Greek as any other guy. He had not a heart spell. It was what was it? He had surgery like 2 decades ago or something. I remember it. I was an adult of adult age when he had this heart episode. I keep saying heart. I want to say health. He had a health episode. I don't remember what it was, but I remember my cousin telling me that my uncle a doctor had said, A, you need to stop smoking, right? Because it was a chain smoker. And B, you need to start exercising. You know, even going for a walk around the block, you know, after dinner or, you know, twice a day or something. Just do some exercise. You know, start with the walking. And my cousin told me that his old man got up, like full of gusto, to go for a walk on the first day. And he goes, he left the house wearing those fucking shoes with heels, those loafers. And he said it in Greek, dakuni, just like to emphasize, put the emphasis on it, put the sting on it. He goes, he left with fucking dakunya. And what did he do? He went for a walk down the block and came back. And he goes, and that was it. And in his mind, he did his bit. And he was like scratching his head. He's like, the guy's cooked. If he thinks that's exercise, and that was it. That was the end of it. I don't know, you know. But I still remember he singled out those shoes. I wonder if you can still buy them. Does anyone out there know? Yeah? Those 80s, 70s, 80s spec shoes, men's sort of loafers, like leather with a bit of a heel on them. A low heel. Fuck. Man, the fashion scope from the 70s to now. I mean, I'm 40. And I'm sitting around in shit that they don't sell because it looks terrible. And I just can't, like, I can't imagine what, like, you know, people my old man's age or my uncle's age would look at and see the shit going on now that people are doing and think, what the fuck is going on? Worlds apart. I need to do that episode. I had an idea to get my mum back in to do an episode in English this time about each decade and what she remembers. Because it's weird, because my mum's really progressive. I mean, as progressive as an 80-year-old Greek woman would be. But she did leave Greece to come to Australia. And there's two types of Greeks in Australia that migrated. They are either assimilated or they stayed in their villages. And the ones that stayed in their villages live, talk, breathe, eat, drink, dance the same way they did when they left Greece, you know, 50, 60 odd years ago. The ones that did assimilate, they've got friends from different, you know, backgrounds. They've traveled. They usually go out. They've got social lives, you know. And I'm not saying the Greeks that migrated that didn't assimilate properly don't have social lives, but they go beyond their own relatives' houses, which is really important. So that's what I'm trying to think, like that exposure level, you know. What do the other migrants remember from each decade? What stood out? Because I remember my old man saying to me, he remembers when he got here, it was in 1969, because he remembers watching the moon landing. They had a TV, it was black and white, and they watched the moon landing. And he remembers watching the moon landing. I mean, that's a big event. But, you know, you got to look at like pop culture, you know, when the Beatles came, or, you know, Elvis, the Olympics, like whatever your takeaways. It'd be interesting to know what everyone's takeaways from each decade. That would be an interesting podcast to do just generally. What were your takeaways from each decade? I mean, even at 40, you've seen 4 decades. I mean, I can break it down pretty easily. You got Michael Jackson in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Then somewhere in there, you've got Eminem and September 11. And then you've got Facebook, smartphones. And then after that, it was pretty much COVID, and here we are. Guess I don't need an episode. I'm done. Oh, fuck, that's bad. How long have we been chatting here? Oh, fuck, half an hour. Really? You know what's bad is I've got a cough. I was sick last week. Everyone's coughing. Everyone's sneezing. And I came here thinking I had cough lollies, because I used to have cough lollies in the studio just for these situations. And I'm just looking at it now. No cough lollies. Bunch of packets of Nurofen. Some Tylenol. Some nasal spray. A Vicks inhaler, the ones that the Asians always have, which works. Fucking, dude, that's drugs. I'm pretty sure there was a King of Queens episode where Jerry Stiller's character discovered that sort of shit. He thought it was like opium. And there's a packet of Karelya packet of Greek cigarettes with 2 ciggies in them. Oh, it's fucked. I think about lifestyle choices now that I would never have done 5-10 years ago. You know, gone from like total non-smoker against all that sort of shit to having the casual ciggy. And the thing is, I still don't get anything from it. I think it just goes to show just the level of stress I have right now. And just the fact that, yeah, I mean, I'm sleeping better, but I'm still stressed. And it's weird. Everything just gets taken away as you get older. You start to overextend yourself. I don't know. I mean, it all depends on what everyone wants. Yeah, whatever. I think I've depressed myself enough for today. I probably should do some work. So I'll edit this, get it up there, and that'll be that. But yeah, hopefully I'll try and get an episode done in the next couple of weeks. I know we've definitely got a Carlton one coming up. I spoke to Terry from Blue Broad now that the season's finally come and shown us mercy and everyone can exit stage left. This clown show. Yeah, we'll get him in here with Steve-O and just commiserate a bit. I definitely need to do one with the low-hanging fruit. That's been a while. And then I've got, I don't know, maybe 3-4 other people that I keep trying to bring in, but it's just getting harder just because I keep working a lot, you know. And the sad thing is I actually like being at this studio. That's why I think I might just do the bare minimum for work today and then just spend the rest of the time sitting on my couch playing PlayStation. I think that'll do it for today. It's been a long week. Anyway, smoke crack.
Hold up.